right, let's start with the very, very beginning. How long have you been modding? Morrowind specifically.
I've been modding since 2011, or about 11 years. I was 13 or so when I first started screwing around with Morrowind's construction kit, and my first mod was, very sadly, posted on Planet Elder Scrolls. I have no backups of it.
But hang on, when Planet Elder Scrolls shut down, I think modding history just exported absolutely everything.
Is that right?
Yeah, it should be there.
Well,
It should be
I
there.
might be able to find it. Yeah.
What was
It
the
was
mod
this
about?
it was this dinky little dungeon mod in a sunken Dwemer ruin where you get an Elder Scroll, and this was before attaining Elder Scrolls, and the Oblivion
So,
had been out where you get one, so I think that was probably the idea, but it wasn't like Skyrim where you're just running around with a bunch of them. And once you get the Elder Scroll and read it, you go mostly blind, but you get some very good abilities in return. And I let you keep doing this. Rest in peace, Planet Elder Scrolls. And wow, that's amazing. My first mod might still be out there. I might
yeah,
find it.
look it up, look it up. I'm pretty sure because when they were all migrated, there were a couple of people, a dozen of people on Great House Fligety, and I was part of those people, and we were basically tidying, looking at every mod and categorizing them and checking if there were multiple copies and everything. So, yeah, look it up, look it up.
That's amazing.
But I really like the fact that your first mod, okay, maybe it was a little dungeon, but then it was also very grand, like nothing less but an Elder Scroll.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much the holy grail.
And I put it in this like isolated location. The dungeon wasn't really that big, but it was like something you could just run across if you didn't want to like know where it was. It was off the coast, and the only thing you could see is this little tiny bit of a Dwemer spire sticking out. A lot of the mod was swimming, so Argonians obviously just won before they even got there, but yeah.
But isn't that, one of the things in Morrowind, like super powerful items are just there. Like, in the most common or isolated places, it's never, a grand room with an altar in the middle. It's just there.
Just some guy with the Staff of Magnus. It's not some big, like, multi-level quest line. You just go into a cave and the guy has it, and that's it. You kill him and you have this legendary artifact.
That's pretty much the way it is in the game, and it's part of its charm, I would say.
Yeah.
Going back to modding, sorry, do you have, I don't know, do you have a particular approach to modding? Do you work always in a certain way? Do you have sources of inspiration?
Well, usually if I get some goofy idea in my head, I just do it. In terms of sources of inspiration, I read a lot of Terry Pratchett, like Discworld and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my sense of humor and fantasy is sort of derived from that.
And the goofy ideas, is it when playing, when talking with other people, when playing other games? I don't know.
Oh, usually when I'm working or in the shower, or usually what it is I'll be at work and I'll be sitting there and want to do anything other than work, and that's usually when I get my best mod ideas.
So when you least expect it.
Yeah.
No, that works. The whole problem is then to remember by the time you get home and you can finally open the construction set. Remember that
I have this
amazing idea.
I have this little notepad on my phone. I'll like write it down as soon as I get it so I don't forget.
There you go. So you do have a system. There it is. There it is. You've been modding for a long time and you've released quite a few mods. What is it that you enjoy about modding in particular?
It's not work.
Sure. We've established that work is when you wish you could be modding, and when you're modding, you're thinking, I love this. This is not work.
To really answer your question, my favorite thing about modding is the interactivity. You have fans making content for a game, and that's a pretty novel idea when you think about it. Mm-hmm. It seems pretty commonplace nowadays with Oblivion and Skyrim, the Fallout series in 3D. Everyone has access to it now, but back when it was like just Morrowind, and like getting into modding was usually a pretty difficult endeavor for people who didn't own Morrowind. Like if you wanted to mod Baldur's Gate or this or that, it was usually more involved and you had to know a lot more on the technical side of things.
Mm-hmm.
The Gamebryo engine is so simple that anyone can do it, and I think that's the appeal to it. Anyone can do it, especially Morrowind, where you don't have to get voice actors or anything like that. A person can sit down, make a mod, having known nothing about the system, in like an hour. It's great. I really like that. That's approachable.
I really agree with you. I think Morrowind sort of hit the sweet spot where you could pick it up even if you had no background in, you know, computer science, coding. Like, it's something you could pick up quite easily. The fact that you didn't need voice actors mean that you could work on your own and make a good quest mod. Though
you don't need these big resources and whatnot.
Exactly. And I'm quite convinced. I could be wrong, obviously. It's not like I've talked with Todd. I might ask him to let me interview him next time. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I got the feeling that adding the construction set to the game for people to tinker with was almost like an afterthought. I don't think Bethesda realized what it would do for Morrowind and then for the other games, because now, as you said, modding is a big thing and modding is money and all that.
I think that you are absolutely right. I bet that they just threw it in. There's very little in terms of documentation. At least when I remember, I just kind of found it in the files, and that was it. Now, I never owned a manual because I picked up mine secondhand, so it might have some kind of description of how to use the CS in there. But as far as I know, Googling stuff was or what was it then? I used Yahoo, but I really don't remember a time where I got to sit down with an instructions manual made by Bethesda for it. I think you're right. They just kind of threw it in there as a fun little thing you could tinker around with, and it really reminds me of how open Valve is with their games and how expansive their modding tools are, and you know how big that community has come. Like Gmod is its own thing. It's really cool that the Elder Scrolls stands alongside them in that regard.
Going back to your mods, and I know it's an impossible question. Everyone I've asked the question to said, I can't answer it before they answered it. But do you have a favorite mod that you've made so far?
Yes, by a long shot.
Which one was it?
Vaba Amos, which is this scrib companion that uses MWSE scripts to sort of do a lot of gimmicks within the mod. He's got a lot of character. It's a companion mod.
Very spunky little scrib.
Yeah. So the entire quest line is set in Saran. He's depressed and wants to kill himself, which I don't think that you're ever going to look into like mental illness in an Elder Scrolls mod unless you're playing Julian, because there's just a lot of character to that mod. No, he's straight suicidal. Like, it's not that he just jokes about it. Like, he hates his life. And a lot of the mod is going through that. It may be a bit juvenile at times, and I definitely think it trivializes the nature of mental illness and depression and whatnot. But the mod does explore such concepts. It's not like it just kind of brushes over it and ignores the fact entirely as just a joke of the mod. I like it the most because it's probably the most work I've put into a mod, other than the competition ones, which I can't really say that I remember fondly because most of them were just like slogs to get through because you have a limited amount of time. And Vaba Amos was a competition mod too, but I think I had more time to work on it. That was May Modathon.
Exactly, a modathon. It's definitely not the same sort of pressure. We'll get back to the modding competitions because that's an interesting topic. But can you tell me, was there something in particular in the making of Baba Amos that you enjoy doing, or was there something that was particularly challenging?
Nothing was challenging. That's probably one of the reasons why I remember it so fondly. It was this nice, easy breeze. G7 did all of the major scripting. I just got to sit down and write a character, and that's it. Nothing really hindered my progress. That's why the mod ended up having like 10 quests, despite the fact that it was a modathon mod. And I know other creators will make like an entire dungeon and like this big expansive thing, but for me, I just really enjoy that I got as much done as I did under a time limit. Oh man, I just really liked working on it. That was a lot of fun.
It sounds like what you enjoy in particular, and that can be seen in your other mods, is creating a character.
Yes, writing, making quirky characters, maybe characters that don't necessarily fit into the Elder Scrolls universe. I'm one of the people that's more of a fan of the like the quirky Easter eggs and the goofier side of the Elder Scrolls, which is most present in Morrowind, I think. Though Oblivion is pretty goofy, Morrowind
Just
really
the
takes the cake in
faces.
that
You
regard.
start the game and you go, this game looks so goofy.
I meant in the questline side of things. Like there's a part where there's a fighters guild guy who's terrible at painting, but he wants to branch out of being a fighter man. So he paints this dinky little painting that's like stick figures fighting, and Oblivion's pretty goofy too. I think that Skyrim lost a lot when it started being sterilized, and it's a bit cold, and I don't mean that literally.
But also with the high mountains and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you've talked quite a bit about Baba Amos, and that is your favorite mod, and obviously you're quite proud of the mod. Is there any other mod that, you know? Because let me start from the beginning. Very often with modders, when you ask them about their mods, they go, "Oh no, that was rubbish. Don't play it." Like, modders are their harshest critics. So is there another mod of yours that you're still very proud of?
Not nearly as much, no. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Vermora. Vermora would stand out. That was this. It was another competition mod, but I was put in charge. I got to call the shots and tell everyone what was happening.
It's my favorite part.
It's this Daedric realm that you can find that's this mini slipstream between Vermina and Sheogorath's realms. So it's got like this overarching theme of dreams and madness kind of mixed together. And it's being invaded by Vardenfell's guilds. So the 6th house is there. The Telvanni are there. And also, the 3rd faction is the Crimson Argonauts, ruled by this giant gem floating in the sky that you can see from anywhere in the mod. That was a very cool mod. It's like this mini world that I got to put a lot of lore into, and I wrote every single character and like designed where the places were being located. Like I just had little monkeys making assets for me and like doing scripts, and I got to like be the mastermind, like the evil overlord behind the project, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I probably procrastinated more than I should have on actually writing the mod. So what happened is I spent most of the weeks writing in a Google Doc what the quests were, and then I did them in like the last 2 or 3 days.
Yep, that sounds like a Morrowind modding madness event.
Yep, that would be one.
Yeah. All right. So that's all the mods. But are you currently working on anything? Do you have a little mod you're working on?
I am, and I've been advertising it. So I am working on a companion mod that I'm attempting to make a mod that is bigger than the Julin companion mod, the biggest companion mod in Morrowind, period, by a long shot. It's got a novel in it, basically.
Oh wow.
So many quests in Julin that you're pretty much never gonna get bored. I
Oh right.
want.
Who's the companion? You haven't said.
Oh, I was getting to that. Haskell from Oblivion,
All right.
but not literally. He's in a ring. Well, really, okay. The Sheogorath signet ring in Morrowind that you get from Stada is just a little story beat in the Azura Daedric questline.
Mm-hmm.
You kill Stada to keep Sheogorath from interfering in Azura's affairs, and you get this ring, and it's kind of a dinky little ring. It doesn't do too much. The first thing the mod does is enhance it. It gives it a new look, a unique texture and model. It gives it better enchantments, and also Haskell's in it, like the character from Oblivion, who is the Chamberlain to Lord Sheogorath. But not really. It turns out that Haskell was giving orders to Stada through the ring, so it's got this link where you can talk to each other through the realms. So Haskell's in Oblivion, in the Shivering Isles, speaking to you, and he just decides to continue talking to you, even though you killed the person who is supposed to be wielding the ring. So the companion mod kind of goes off of that. There's a lot of features in it from the Shivering Isles, like the ability to control the weather, which was a spell you got in the Shivering Isles in Oblivion. So you can do that in Morrowind now. You can like control what the weather looks like. You can make it snow in Balmora. You could, do anything in that regard. And as well, you get Golden Saints and Hungers, two creatures that are kind of tied to Sheogorath, passively. If you run across one in the wilderness, they won't attack you anymore, and they'll follow you, and they'll carry your stuff, and follow your commands. And there's certain other crazy NPCs in the world that you can also recruit, like the crazy guy who has the bloodworm helm. You can recruit him too. So you can have this big army of Sheogorath monsters following you around. On top of all of that, I want it to be a companion mod that is going to be the most expansive one out there.
Well, I mean, it's true that when people think companion mods in Morrowind, Julan comes at the very top, and it feels like a very big mod in terms of quest, dialogue, scripting as well. And your project is super ambitious. Are you working on your own?
No.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of people that are helping me on, again, the scripting side of things. Basically what I do is I'm this little baby, and I went, I want this. And someone goes, wait, I know who you are. All right, I'll do it for you, whatever. I basically subsist off of charity like a leech. And all these people are willing to help me because they've either worked with me before or they like me, I don't know. But Safebox is doing the scripting for the mod. With a bunch of scripting already stolen from Greatness 7, who worked with me on it. Remeros did the model for the ring.
Nice.
And I am doing the quest line and all of the regular Morrowind script and journal entries and everything else. So the bulk of the mod, in terms of the quest to kill Julin, is all me. I'm not going to be doing any outside writers or anything like that.
Okay, I don't think you have an ETA for that just yet.
Well, I'm 10% of the way there.
Okay.
I actually have Julin, the mod, and I'll look in the files and see how big the dialogue entries in the mod are, and then I'll compare it to mine, and then as I do some more work, I'll look at it. I'm already 10% of the way there.
Nice. Okay, so it's your reference, your goal, and once you've reached it, you're gonna go beyond that even.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you got a lot of modding on your plate. Now, a lot of modders have this weird I don't know, problem where they mod, and they don't play the game. Do you suffer from this terrible blight?
So, usually, about once every 5 years, it seems, I'll sit down, get some of my favorite mods, and I'll play the game. The most recent was this YouTube series I did on Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim and Daggerfall, where I play a character through it all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last time I played Morrowind, and that was like 3 or 4 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, but I
Um,
was hours and hours of playing.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Usually, when I do sit down and play an Elder Scrolls game or really any Bethesda game, I'm hooked and invested for about 50 to 500 hours where I'll sit down and play it. And then I'll get so tired of it that I'll never think about it again for years. That is kind of my cycle of playing these games, these open world, do anything style games. But the exception is New Vegas, which I personally actually think is a better game than Morrowind. And you guys can kill me if you want. But I play that like once a year. I love that game.
all right. Well, I won't kill you. I have not played Fallout New Vegas, but a lot of people, including in the Morrowind modding community, recommended it. And so I figure if they say it's good and they love Morrowind and I love Morrowind, I'll enjoy it. I just need to find the time to, play it. It's just that little
It is
matter.
it is very good, and the reason why it is mostly the writing.
Mm.
It was a game that didn't have a long development cycle, so it's buggy, and you kind of have to coddle it a little bit. If it has any problems, you've got to sit there and deal with them. It runs off of the awful Fallout 3 engine, so there's problems there. But it's the writing, and I kind of find that's what I like most about Morrowind is writing stories and making characters and adding
Mm.
to the world or detracting from it, depending.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to go back to Blim-Dim, that character that you played through Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, Daggerfall. I think that's the first time I've seen that. A character that goes through the whole series of the games. Um, how did that happen? How did you think of that? You were at work.
So, no, I
No.
wasn't working then. I was going to college when I started that. Blim-Dim is something I really wanted to succeed, and it didn't. And I kept trying and trying and trying and pushing it and making it bigger, and it still never did. But essentially, I wanted to become like a Morrowind YouTuber. I wanted to sit there and like make cool videos, and I wanted to do a let's play. So I made a Sheogorath worshipping Argonian that collects cups because I wanted something quirky, and I think it was a Fudge Muppet video that did the build in Skyrim or something. And I did the worst thing ever. I didn't do any editing. I wanted it to chronicle the entire journey. So the entire time I'm playing Morrowind, you see every single second of it. Not a bit of it is cut out, and it's almost like watching a live stream, but you can't go, "Hey," and like interact with me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very boring. And I didn't really realize that until I got all the way through Morrowind, and at the end of that decided, "Hey, I'll keep doing this, but I'm basically done with Morrowind. I'll do Oblivion too, and I'll like write a little dialogue that explains how it happens." Essentially, Blim-Dim caught Corporus in Morrowind so he can stay alive through the other games and how long it takes to get from like Morrowind to Oblivion to Skyrim. And I also explain away how these different characters are now suddenly one character that goes on all of these adventures and even time travels at one point to play Daggerfall.
You'd have to do that. I definitely want to go back to Daggerfall at some point, so hopefully I won't forget. But I had a question. Was it the same role playing a character in Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, and Daggerfall? Did you find you could role play to the same extent in all four games?
Well, The character's really simple and stupid, so I would say yes. It's this, this madness crazed Argonian. There's not really any intricate role play. I think the most role playing I did is he has like 4 girlfriends through the series or something because the series goes on too long. And I wrote like little narratives for it. At times when I wanted stuff to happen, I would just like get in the construction set, make a quick little mod, and then have them interact with the mod just to have character dialogue and stuff and have like a little bit of a story to it. Oh god, I forgot what I was actually getting to. What was the point of all that?
I was asking you about role playing.
Role playing. Very easy character. One that fits in all of the games because he's aligned with a Daedric prince that's in all the games. He actually shined the most when I played the Shivering Isles because, of course, he did.
Yeah. It would be back in his element, so to speak. Right, Daggerfall. Because you started modding, you were quite young. Daggerfall is even older than that. Is it a game you've played a lot before, after Morrowind? How did that happen?
So I got into the Elder Scrolls by playing Daggerfall, and it's weird because what I remember from it is pain. I remember being like a 4-year-old trying to get through the character creation, not knowing what anything meant or what anything did, like completely not understanding the RPG systems, but I would get through it, and usually by clicking rapidly on windows until the game would start. And then once the game started, I'd watch the little cutscene with the Emperor, and then I would die to like a rat. Daggerfall is a different experience. It's something that's a bit unapproachable by modern gamers, and I play a lot of retro RPGs, so it's like pretty easy to pick up now. But when I was like 4, I didn't care about like Baldur's Gate or Planescape Torment or anything like that. I just wanted to play a game, and I remember thinking it was really cool that you could wander through the towns and it was open world, and when the gates closed down, you could climb over the walls and you could like commit bank fraud and buy a house. It was like the ultimate fantasy experience for me, Daggerfall. Not that I played all that much of it when I was young because I didn't get it. Usually I would just run past monsters, get the quest item, leave the dungeon in a hurry, and cry.
Cry of joy because you completed your quest.
No, because I'm like half dead and diseased and becoming a werewolf and...
I've had a somewhat similar experience. One of the first game I played was Ultima IV. So I must have been maybe 10 years old. But the thing is, I played it on the Master System, Sega Master System. So that's an indication of how old I am. But I didn't know any English at that point. And Ultima IV is just text. Like, there's no action. The combat is incredibly slow and boring. I don't understand to this day how my brothers and I, none of us could speak English. And we loved that game and we understood nothing. Nothing whatsoever. But good times, definitely good times. So you told us what you loved about Daggerfall then. What about Morrowind? What makes it special for you?
The world. Daggerfall is the ultimate fantasy experience where you can do anything you want. Morrowind is still a game where you can do whatever you want, but it's a bit more limited in scope. I think that where Morrowind excels is in the world design, the characters, like... the setting, I think, not necessarily the characters. There's not a ton of character to Morrowind. There's only like 30 actual people with real writing. Everyone else is just kind of a Wikipedia article. But the world creation is so good. What I mean by that is like the books you read, the details. There's a lot of it's a very detail-oriented game, and I really like that. And it's this alien atmosphere. You kind of feel helpless when you arrive in Morrowind and everyone's mean to you because your personality's low and you don't know what you're doing and you're an outlander. You've got these racist Dunmer like telling you to get out of their country, and I found it to be really inhospitable, and that just made me want to play it more.
Mm-hmm. I agree though. I wish I could forget about Morrowind so I can play it again and experience that feeling of being utterly lost,
Yeah.
clueless. It's like, help, somebody tell me, what am I supposed to do now?
You don't have quest markers, you're just wandering around trying to find the dungeon that some quest giver told you about, and there's like a good 10% chance that they told you the wrong direction because they didn't remember the right way to go. Or maybe the devs moved the dungeon during development, but you'll be trekking through the wilderness trying to find this random cave, and you'll run across like 10 other caves and go on this this other little adventure, and you have no idea where to go. I've gotten lost so many times in Morrowind. You have a map, but it doesn't help. They don't mark caves on that map.
No, they don't. I get lost all the time. Especially in one of my games, I actually removed the map, and I got so lost. I was like, "Come on, I know the game. Come on!" And I nearly died. Nearly died. Fantastic. Loved it. Going back to mods, Morrowind mods. Do you have mods that you would consider essentials?
Morrowind code patch. There's this one that makes follower companions always follow you because the follow AI Easy escort. I love that mod. That is just essential.
Absolutely essential. Yes.
Especially if you like companion mods where you're gonna have someone following you around all the time. Absolutely essential. Really, just anything Null Cascade made. Actually, I like usually just look at his mod page before I start the game to see what new cool thing I can put in my game that I'm gonna never get rid of.
Yeah, I agree. Easy escort, like even companions, I think are not very popular, especially with Morrowind players. I love them. They're fun because they're buggy and they're stupid, and so they make things happen, and I love that. But even if you don't have companions, suddenly when you have easy escort, all of those incredibly frustrating escort quests, finally you can do them. Before easy escort, I was like, no, sorry, I'm not taking you to the shrine. No, sorry, I cannot escort you to the event. No, sorry, just stay there. I don't want you with me.
I can't believe that they had, as part of the main quest of Morrowind, 2 different escort missions, and they didn't realize anywhere during development that it didn't work, that they just wouldn't follow you. They would like get stuck on the path grid and wander off somewhere else, or they'd bug out and they'd like look at you and then they'd start running the complete other direction for like 50 feet and then run all the way back.
Trying to catch up with you.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about like they would just bug out and like be standing right next to you. Then they would just turn around, run like a mile back, and then run all the way back. Like Morrowind's follow AI is buggy, dude.
So bad. But that's one of my favorite things with companions, when they start walking away from you, like they pick a direction and just keep walking. And the only way you can make them snap out of it is to trigger combat. And the best way to do that is just to slap them in the face until they start fighting you for a second. And then they remember you're a companion and they stop, they don't fight you. But I've had to literally slap them out of it quite a few times. Don't do that when they are guards, because then you're the bad person. But yeah, love companions. They're buggy, they're stupid, but they make things happen. They're part of the story.
I have a little story related to companions, if you don't mind me going off on a bit of a tangent. In Mournhold, the Tribunal DLC, there's this little rat you can get that can carry your stuff, and the little pack rat. I lost him in a sewer, and I didn't remember which sewer I'd lost him in. I didn't remember when I lost him. So I went on a quest. I went back into that sewer. I searched like every single cell trying to find this rat, trying to figure out where the heck he had gone. And I found out that he had gotten stuck behind some piece of world geometry, and that's why he didn't follow me out, because he'd been stuck behind a rock.
Classic.
And I spent hours looking for that rat. I don't know what I was thinking.
Mm. That's yeah, typical Morrowind right there. So you mentioned like code patch, MWSE, stuff by null, which a lot of people would consider essential, and I would agree with you. Are there some mods that are not as well known? I think everybody would say MCP, unless they use
Oh,
Open Morrowind, but some lesser known mod, underrated mod that you actually really enjoy?
I absolutely love Lothavor's Legacy. That is a great quest mod. And it's a little fan fiction-y writing, kind of like Julian, so you have to kind of go into it with the mindset that it's not going to be this AAA experience. But it's this dungeon quest companion mod with a villain set on this island ruled by this crazy wizard that's gone missing, and all of his test subjects are all scattered throughout the island, living their lives in perfect tranquility, not knowing of the nightmare that's brewing underneath them. I love that mod. It's definitely underrated. I never hear anyone talking about it, but it's one of my favorite quest mods in Morrowind. It has some really advanced scripting for Morrowind script. Like, there's this part where you're at a party and it's, this really important event where you're talking with the characters and getting some deep backstory into them. And the party's set at night, so what they do, they just have a script setting it to the same time of day every single frame, so the time doesn't progress, so you can have this nighttime scene. Like, it's phenomenal.
I'll be honest, I've never played it. So
Wow.
I'm adding it
You
to my list. I'm adding it to my list.
It is super good. Probably one of my favorite Morrowind mods. No one ever talks about it. I never hear about it.
Well, today we talk about it. Lothavor's
Yeah,
Legacy. Do you remember the motto?
I don't.
Alright, well guys, Google
I
it.
I know that the mod is so expansive. There's this massive walkthrough you can find online. I know the walkthrough is easier to find than the mod is, which is a bit funny.
Yeah. Alright, now we talked about Morrowind, we talked about mods and Elder Scrolls games. Do you actually play other games? You mentioned Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, basically, New Vegas is the only Fallout game I'll ever kind of jump back to and play over and over and over again, but that's because it's a masterpiece. I
Do
really
you...
like the Just Cause series of games because you're just causing chaos and destroying things. God, I don't really game that much anymore. I don't have the time. I've got a girlfriend and a job, and my girlfriend plays video games with me, and like I still don't have any time to do anything. Especially with modding Morrowind and whatnot. If you hear any background sounds, it's my dog getting restless. I think
Ah.
she's annoyed that I'm doing this.
You're just neglecting her to talk about some nobody at your computer. That makes no sense. Uh, don't worry, puppy. You'll be able to play soon. I did have a final question for you.
Yes.
The Drunken Mudcrab. How did you pick that username?
So, much like the creators of the mod The Dreams of the Drunken Mudcrab, I didn't know at first that the Mudcrab merchant wasn't called the Drunken Mudcrab. The community as a whole seems to have dubbed him the Mudcrab merchant instead, despite his apparent inebriated state and choice in merchandise, which is all alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, he acts drunk, he has a ton of alcohol in his inventory, and he's a merchant. The username is equal parts reference to the Easter egg to equal parts goofy username. I wasn't old enough to drink when I made the username, if that's what you're asking.
Not specifically, but it's good to know. I'm guessing the fact that you weren't drinking probably made the name even funnier. I would guess. Okay. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you wanted to talk about?
I think it's just really cool that the Morrowind community is still alive, despite it being almost 20 years old. This game is ancient by RPG standards, and I absolutely love that there is an active community with hundreds of members in it making mods and doing stuff like this, like interviews and let's plays and live streaming the game. Keeping the game alive, in a sense, for me is really important. And I feel like I'm never going to give up that quest to make sure people are still playing this game like 50 years from now, when computers can't even run it anymore, when all have forgotten about the big AAA title of Skyrim, when it's just a distant memory. I want people to remember Morrowind. It's a great game, and I think that that's really important. As well, Garfield Kart's a really cool game. I didn't mention that.
Yes,
I like that game. Don't look up the East Empire Company expansion.
That would be an example of a mod you don't recommend to anyone.
It was my third mod. It's also my largest mod by quite a big margin. It's this like 50 to 70 quest line involving the East Empire Company and Ebonheart. Because I thought it was kind of odd that you could join the East Empire Company in Solstheim, but not on the mainland. They don't have any work for you if you go back there. They kind of act like you don't exist. Yeah. So I wanted to remedy that by adding a quest line there. But it's really bad. I was 14 or so. Well, I was 14 when I made it, so the standard of quality is non-existent. The dungeons will be just random. The quests are not well written. The scripts run badly. Pretty much every aspect of the mod that could run badly or operate badly does. And it's huge. The mod is absolutely massive. And there's like this subplot about this noble who has a Dwemer airship and you get stuck in there, and you go to Skyrim at one point, and oh man.
Well, at the very least, it was a learning experience.
I wish the mod wasn't so big. It's like everyone knows about it because it got really popular at a time when Morrowind modding was at its absolute peak. So it's got thousands upon thousands of downloads and endorsements, and every once in a while I'll get this, hey, it's that guy who made the East Empire Company mod. And I'm like, oh my god, no, don't play that. Don't get that out of your collective memory. I don't want to be remembered for this mod forever.
Too late. It's too late, I'm sorry. And now that's going to be, the final topic we discussed, so that's going to stay with people even more.
Oh.
Yeah, we failed. Seriously, though, thank you so much for doing this. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was.
I'm thinking that I want to talk to everyone like that. Oh, and huge, massive thanks for doing all the video editing after that. I love the talking, but the work after that, not so much.
It's pain. Well, thank you very much for having me. That was a lot of fun.
My pleasure entirely. And we'll definitely have to talk about your Haskill companion mod when you start sharing things. I got a feeling there's going to be a lot to explore with that.
Oh, I've already started posting in the Morrowind Discord about it. I talk about it all the time. It's at the point where anywhere you go, he's gonna have something to say about it.
Wow.
He has comments on things you wear, on the weather, on quests you're in the middle of. It's going to be a very reactive companion. I want him to feel alive.
Looking forward to playing that. Oh, if you need somebody to test the mod, you know where to find me.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to let you enjoy your day. Pay attention to your dog before you lose a vase or whatnot. And I'll talk to you soon at some point, I'm sure.